Hey everybody, I have been waiting for this moment all season so that I could make a video about my favoriteest flower, Datura. This one is Datura stramonium. She's just beautiful. I know you can't smell it, I wish you could. But when the Datura first opens, it has this beautiful scent. So intoxicating. Gosh, I'm just flabbergasted by how beautiful she is. So Datura, there's a bunch of different species. All of them are sacred. There's one called Sacred Datura, but, you know, they're all sacred. And it's one of my favorite plants, if not possibly my very most favorite. There are other contenders, but Datura holds a really special place in my heart. It's also called Moonflower, and Devil's Trumpet, and Devil's Testicle. And there's a bunch of other ones too. Stinkweed, which is rude, and then Jimson weed because of the story of its use in Jamestown. A few men from the Jamestown colony took Datura, they ate it, and went a little nutty. And they had to keep these men in captivity. They had to lock them in a barn for like 5 days until they could calm down. But that's why they call it Jamestown or Jimson weed. I like Devil's Trumpet, obviously. There's a related plant called Brugmansia, which is called Angel's Trumpet. But you can see how this one sticks up from the ground. And it's got this really lovely trumpet shape. So this one's Devil's Trumpet. Brugmansia is Angel's Trumpet because they hang from the tree and the mouth of the trumpet points at the ground. So why is this one of my favorite plants? I think it is not only beautiful, but very useful. She is poisonous and fairly poisonous, fairly toxic. There are cultures who ingest the seeds. And I admit that when I was younger, we would soak tobacco and Datura seeds in liquor and then smoke the tobacco. I don't know, I don't feel like it was that strong, but I've known of some people, not personally, but I've known of them who have taken too much of the seed. And I've heard that the trip that Datura takes you on, I haven't really played with it in that way. I just respect her too much. But people have taken it, they go on this really hellish trip, and sometimes they don't come back. And they just stay kind of schizo, crazy, wild for a little bit, if not forever. And she's just not someone to fuck around with, you know? Like, you either know and you respect her, or she bites back. She is a plant that doesn't like to be approached with aggression. She doesn't like when it feels like you're trying to take her. You have to court Datura. You have to become her friend. And then she will give you her medicine, but you can't take it from her. And her medicine is not in the trip. In part, and in some cultures it's actually very important, but the trip, to me, isn't the most important part. I think her medicine lies in chronic pain management. This plant is full of tropane alkaloids, and a salve, an oil of this plant, can help to stop pain in its tracks. It's really remarkable. You can put a little bit of this oil on the part of your body that's hurting, It tingles for a little bit and then the pain is gone. And that's really remarkable. Not very many plants do that. She also has the ability to transdermally kind of uplift the spirit, and she can make you feel a little lightheaded, a little fluttery. Too much can definitely be damaging to the heart. But another way that Datura is used is to help with motion sickness and vertigo. The scopolamine patches that people buy for those, for that very reason, that's made with scopolamine from Datura. She's also really useful in cases of asthma attack. And you can burn the leaves and waft the smoke into a person's face, and it will help to open the bronchioles. It helps to open the lungs. And that's really what Datura's magic is. It opens. It beckons. Flower essence of Datura is actually really useful in dealing with hereditary trauma. Dealing with familial lines of trauma. Quantum inheritance. Another one that's really useful for that is Christmas cactus. Christmas cactus flower. But Datura does a really great job. And Datura also works really well with tobacco. As a smoke, as a flower essence, as a salve, whatever. You want to avoid using this one internally unless you've worked with it for a while. Or you're working with an experienced herbalist who knows how to use Datura internally. Because that needs to be pretty closely monitored. And don't even necessarily think of her as poisonous, really, come to think of it. She's very powerful. She's very, very powerful, and you have to treat that with respect. Her medicine is just too powerful for a lot of people, and so it's worth your while to be patient, court the plant, court her medicine, and then dive in. The parts that are used medicinally, the whole plant can be root, leaf, flower, but the part that harbors the main amount of the tropane alkaloid are in the seeds. The seeds are the ones that harbor it. So you have to wait for the seed pod to grow, and those, so another name of this plant is thorn apple, and it'll get these little seed pods that are super prickly. They're very spiny, and they're full of hundreds of little seeds. You want to cut the mature pod from the plant and open it up and empty the seeds. You don't want to dry the seeds in the pod because that can cause moldering of the seeds, and then they're kind of useless. So take the mature pod from the plant when it's just about to pop, and then open it up. Take the seeds out and dry them separately from the pod. And then the pod can be used in protection magic. The Datura overall is very protective once you get to know her. You may also see that she's related to Judgment, the Arcana, with that trumpet shape. And she calls us out of the shadows. She calls us out of our fear. But she also kind of calls us into our fears in a way, so that we can face them better. This plant is Saturnine, but also has Venusian resonances, especially with the 5 lobes of the flower. It has the shape of a 5 Raid Star, which is sacred to Venus, and also to the witches. It's one of our most sacred symbols. She's got 5 stamen, and then 1 long tongue. Just gorgeous. Ugh. I love this plant so much. She's become a very, very good friend. And I hope that you guys get to make relationship with Datura as well. Alright, well, may we meet in the twilight, may the shadows walk with you, and may the torches of Hecate guide us ever closer toward justice.